Welcome to Understanding Storage with Joshi Numata, and I'm going to talk about the difference between physical storage versus cloud storage. So iPhones have been sold in a variety of sizes ranging from 4 gigabytes all the way up to 512 gigabytes, but a typical size today is 64 gigabytes. I call this physical storage because, as you can see in the little red outline, there's an actual physical chip on which your data is stored. Don't forget that part of that space is always going to be used up by the operating system, and even more will be used as scratch space as you do things on the phone. And that space is always going to eat into your amount of storage. One nice thing is that if you look at a 32 gigabyte phone versus a 64 gigabyte phone, even though the size of the operating system might be the same between both phones, in one case, it might be using almost 20% of the full space, whereas on the other one, it might be only using closer to about 10 or 12% of the space, because you get to use all of that extra capacity for your own stuff. So in the old days, we had to connect our phones to the computers in order to do anything. And originally Apple used iTunes in order to do that. You would have to physically connect a USB cable, and then you could back up stuff like your text messages or your photos onto the computer. That would also save things like the passwords. That did not include duplicates of like the music from your iTunes library, because that's already stored on the computer. Same thing with your photos in your iPhoto library or the Photos library. Those things are on the computer and considered your responsibility to back up. Now, everybody wanted the ability to connect their phones and make backups without the inconvenience of having to physically plug in the phones. So Apple worked on creating a cloud backup, and they eventually got to a service called iCloud and gave away 5 gigabytes of space for free so that people could wirelessly back up their photos and messages. But a great many people end up trying to store more than the 5 gigabytes of space that you get for free, and so they eventually run into problems. It may sound like there's nothing you can do and that you're always going to run out of physical storage, but Apple has a solution, and it involves using the cloud. So let's take a look. Apple's cloud storage is meant to give you extra space and make it appear as if your phone has a much more space than it does in physical life. So iCloud Photo Library lets you store your photos. So as you take a photograph, when you get back home where you have Wi-Fi, your phone will upload the photo to the cloud. And then once the photo is safely on the cloud, if the phone needs to make more room, it'll just throw away the full-size copy of the original photo and just keep a small thumbnail. So it always looks like you have all the photos on your phone at once. In my case, on my phone right now, I have over 120 gigabytes of photos, so it wouldn't physically fit on my phone, but it looks like they're all there. I can never tell exactly which photos are on the phone at any given moment, unless I were to turn off the internet altogether and then try to download photos, and then I could find photos maybe that weren't downloaded. For those, they would be a little bit blurry because I'd only be looking at a smaller thumbnail size image. But as long as I have an internet connection, I can look at the original photo in its full resolution at any time. It just re-downloads. This is great because in the end, you can store way, way more photos than might actually physically fit on your phone. So keep in mind that there's a big difference between physical storage and cloud storage, and sometimes you might want to use both.